Yes, duality, but know what it's born of and from. So if you know that, if you know what duality is born from, if you know what separative experience is born from, you know who you are. You know that you are born from a whole, gave birth to a separative experience in order to know itself, and you know that that whole is all there is, that all aspects of the separation are connected to that whole, and that whole, therefore, must be who you are. Because even if you are just a part, you came from that whole. And you are not separate from that whole if you are taking a unitative perspective. So yes, duality, but yes, wholeness. So we've got to see the context for our experience, the context of things. This allows us to understand. With no context, there's no understanding, there's just misunderstanding. And the whole idea of this word, sin, which people kind of run away from. The root of that word means to miss the mark. It means to, like in archery, you fire an arrow, and to miss the mark. If you miss the mark, it means you've been inaccurate, you've misunderstood. So we need the context. We need the context of wholeness in order to understand the direction of the arrow. We need to, we need the context of. We need context. So yes, duality, but yes, wholeness. For example, in a previous video I mentioned about medicine, or I was actually meaning a particular type of medicine. So pharmaceuticals, we have, in a separative world, we have the individual who is well or sick, and that duality, and if we go towards the sick, then we need to find a solution, and so there's the duality of apparent reality of sickness, possibility of cure from outside, and we buy medicine, pharmaceuticals, in order to get well, apparently get well, and this is like it's an unhealthy duality because it puts wellness outside of ourselves. But if, for example, we saw medicine in the traditional terms of what medicine is, so for example, things of the earth, natural herbs and natural oils and natural remedies, natural elixirs. If we see medicine in these terms, it's the same kind of mechanism operating to appearances, but it's very different. So, for example, we feel sick, we're not well, we look outside of ourselves to find a cure. And so, for example, you find a plant which has medicinal properties, and you take this plant, you imbibe this plant, and you feel better. So this is apparently the same inside-outside mechanism, like cures outside, just like pharmaceuticals, and you imbibe it inside in order to get better. But the difference is that, and this is a fundamental difference, that natural plant, that natural herb, was born of the same life that you were born. And so whilst there is an apparent duality of taking something from outside and bringing it in, well, actually that duality is also a functioning of oneness, of the life of the herb coming into the life of you. It's all one life. Whereas the pharmaceuticals are not made of that life impulse, they're made of chemical constructed impulse, which is very far removed from the life that you are. And so that duality is a harmful duality. That duality is a duality that doesn't serve life, because it's not life continuing itself, it's life being infiltrated by substances which are not made of life. They are not born of the evolution of the planet, which created all that we need in order to survive, until we disturb that process, until we unsettle that process. And then it can be difficult to find things in nature that heal us on the level we need healing. It's only when we create distortion that we breed distortion. It's only when we create a life of love that we experience a life of love. It's all self-fulfilling. But the oneness that exists is a oneness of life. And anything that is not born of that same life impulse is not life, and is not true to you on a very deep, fundamental, spiritual life level. Okay, so there's one love, and within that love there is the unitative and the experiential principle. So the love that unites and the love that allows us to have a separate experience, and the love that unites again. But it's all love. So love exists in the unity as the unity, and love exists in the experience as the holding the experience together, the allowing the duality to be, the containing the duality to allow us to have an experience of that love we are. So experience, as we've said, is separation, happens in separation. But even in separation, we can see the love if we realise that the two aspects of duality are all part of the same one. And we haven't let the anti-life wedge its way in between us and other aspects of ourselves. So we haven't subscribed to chemical, technological implants that wedge themselves between us and the life that we are in experience. You know, that continual pool of life. There's a pool of life, crystal clear pool of life. And in that crystal clear pool of life, both aspects of the duality are part of the same love. It's only when we start to manipulate nature that we take it out into terms beyond itself. We manipulate it and it loses its flow, it loses its natural process. It's like a deforming life creates deformation, and if we subscribe to deformed solutions, if we subscribe to broken promises, then we are keeping ourselves from ourselves, because we are allowing something in to our experience that disturbs the harmony of the oneness. The harmony of the oneness takes care of itself. But you know, there's disturbances which enter it like a virus, enter it like a splinter, and we have to be smart to who we are in order to know what to trust. And in essence, all we can really trust is other expressions of the life that we are. Life itself we can trust. So the separation is only loss if we forget the return journey back to unity. And there are many influences, constructed influences, that seek to take us out and out into separation, as we've said before, that seek to keep us from our unity, because our unity is where we regain the power of our oneness, the power of our love, which would then express itself in the world, and would mean separative interests would no longer apply. So never go so far out that you can't get back in. Never forget your nature, never forget who you are, never forget where you came from. You came from the source, you are that source. Nature, love, whole, one being. Life, nature, is not an external system beyond you. So it's not an external system beyond you. You are integral to to who you are. Life is who you are. It's not something outside of you. So remember, you have, it's been said many times before, but all you need is within you. The wisdom you need is within you. It is you. All of it. It is you. We are never independent of nature because we are never independent of life. The nature that heals is our own self. Knowing who we are is what heals us, is what banishes the spectre of our limitation, our false imagination, meaninglessness, lack. These things are banished when we see truly. It's all just being, consciousness. It's all just consciousness, being. We can be an aspect of it, or we can be all of it. An aspect, as just an aspect, is always lacking. The whole is all that's enough. So, the aspect is beautiful if it's connected to the whole, if we can see the context of the whole. Nature is you are. It's all the mind of God. It's all the mind of God. This whole creation is the mind of the Creator. It's all the mind of God. You are the universe coming into form. You are the universe coming into form and back to formlessness. Creative conscious energy. Okay, so in this we can only go by our experiences and the truth of our experience. We can step up to truth. We are that truth we are stepping up to, which is why we get there, here. Choose your way and the universe provides for that choice. You are calibrating it that way. You are it calibrating. Align little self to big self. Aligned, this is divine will. This is your will in its most elevated form. And this is the revolution, the wheel of life. This is the wheel of life turning, life into life into life. It's not infected by non-life. It's not infected by principles outside of life, which are the entrenchment of a separation that goes beyond the divine will of the source to experience itself and takes itself out into realms on separation's terms, which was never the game. The game is not separation's terms. The game is unity on unity's terms, experienced through separation. So we can't get lost in separation. We have to see that it is for unity. If you want to change your experience, you have to change yourself. You need to know who you are before you can choose your chosen direction. Okay, so we're going to touch on insecurity, depression, anxiety, things like this. Insecurity is the result of mistaking the part for the whole. That is, thinking the part is all there is to your experience. Thinking the part and all its interactions with all the other parts, other people, other things, is all there is to experience. It's thinking that. Insecurity is the result of thinking like that. The truth is that the part is the whole, but in a very different way. So it's not thinking that the part is all there is, it's knowing that the part is a true reflection of divinity. There's a big difference. If you think the part is all there is, create worlds of depression and suffering. If you know that the part is the whole, so this is an example where words can just confirm where we're at in our own minds. So if you think you are all that is, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. So if, for example, you're invested in separation, you think you're a limited part and you think you're all that is, that is delusion, that's complete delusion. But if you're in a mindset of unity and you know that you are all that is sanity, because you know you are connected with every other living thing in this experience of life and this still essence of life that we are. So truth is that the part is the whole, but not just in a this is all there is, nothing else exists to my experience kind of way. It's much more than that. The part is all there is, amidst loads. Okay, let's just read what I've written. So thinking the part and all its interactions with all the other parts is all there is to experience. Insecurity is a result of mistaking the part for the whole. That is, thinking the part is all there is to your experience. Thinking the part that and all its interactions with all the other parts is all there is to experience. The truth is that the part is the whole, but in a very different way. Instead of part as all there is, and its loads of other parts and no context, part as microcosm to the whole. It is not separate to all the other parts, but all the other parts are all also microcosms to the whole, and therefore it is all one, and we are all just part of this oneness. And we are this oneness in its entirety, in its eternity, in its timelessness, in its nowness, in its presence. For a part of one to one is all just one. Okay, so imagine a mind of oneness, and imagine telling a mind of oneness that this part belongs to it. Well, that mind of oneness is just going to assimilate that part as oneness. It's just going to be oneness, because a mind of oneness cannot see parts. And this is what we're doing here. This is what I'm talking about, is seeing in terms of oneness rather than seeing in terms of separation, that liberates you from the limitation of separation and establishes the kind of the divine expression of separation as the beauty of the one that you are. Yes, so we are this oneness in its entirety, for a part of one to one is all just one. Insecurity is the result of thinking you are a limited part when you are the whole. The result of getting lost in narrow perspective. It breeds insecurity in the narrow focus of consciousness rather than the broader picture. Anxiety is the same, thinking you are the part and you have to do something more, be something more. No, you are pure being. Being, just be, and let your truth flow from here. What needs to be done is done. Take off the pressure, the strain, the contracting that breeds more contracting, the tension that breeds more tension. Tense we cannot open. Not opening, we become more tense. Tense we cannot open. Not opening, we cannot see. We stay limited. If we can't open, we stay limited and we breed limitation. Like I say, choosing separation, we lay testament to it and take it forward. We will take it in whatever direction we go, towards more separation. It's a battle trying to establish illusion, trying to keep it going. Because it's not real, this is why we get so tired all the time, because we're trying to establish, we're trying to keep up, hold up an illusion. We're trying to hold up a scene of a play. We're trying to make illusion real, and this is why we're all so tired. It's like we're upholding an illusion. We're upholding this charade of separateness. So like I say, choosing separation, we lay testament to it and take it forward, or in whatever direction it goes, towards more separation. It's a battle trying to establish illusion, trying to keep it going. But we all seem to be battling with life, putting all this effort into being something we're not. So it's all like we're all set on being more limited than we really are, because we can't quite cope with the repercussions of being so free and so responsible for ourselves. Choose the expanse of love and we flow with it, riding the flow. Tap into the root of your being, find its wings. Tap into the root of your being, find its wings. Spirit comes in, you ground and you ascend. So meditation as well, like there are so many techniques, so many different types of yoga, so many different techniques of meditation. And all these types, all these ways, all these techniques are strands of a separation. This is how the truth, the wholeness of spirituality is bastardized and hijacked by separative mentality. Yoga and meditation are all about wholeness, all about returning to your wholeness, about going in to return to wholeness, knowing your wholeness and coming back out in wholeness, expressing wholeness, principles of wholeness within the separative paradigm or within the apparently separative experience, holding it all together in wholeness. So I've written, meditation is returning to wholeness, wholeness of the source, wholeness within. So it's less of a sense of trying to do something and actually settling into just being something without trying, because the trying puts it outside yourself. It's like, oh, I'm here, I need to get there. You don't need to get anywhere else but here. So meditation and yoga are about being here, like we talked about before, presence. And don't try and do it all on your own as a separate self, for that is not what you are. So it's like, as you sit, as you rest, it's about dropping the thoughts that keep you in the prison of the self, that keep you in the prison of the limited self, because that is the only prison. So allowing help in as you meditate is opening up to broader awareness. It's opening up to presence, not locking down to specificity, not locking down to a single strand of the separation. Although being present to one small part, for example, of your body and its sensations, is still presence, because presence is presence beyond time and space confines and terms. So presence is presence beyond, whether it's presence of a small thing or presence of a big thing. Presence is presence beyond time and space. And this is the quality, presence here now, that brings you back to the quality of truth of who you are. Presence here and now. This is your truth. Your life is not happening in any other way other than present here and now. There are so many techniques to get lost in. Yes, we need structure to help. This whole game is a balance of structure and freedom. This whole world experience is this balance of structure and freedom. This is how life is playing itself out. Structure and freedom. The structure of living forms and the freedom of those living forms based on their structure. Like human beings, for example, our structure affords us a great freedom. Plants are afforded a different freedom. They're rooted. They cannot move in the same way as we can. So life experiences itself through these different configurations of structure and freedom. But we need both. Ultimately, we are freedom. This is our true nature. But we can only experience that through a structure, which is the spectrum of duality, the spectrum of experience. So this whole game is a balance of structure and freedom. But eventually, we must let structure go, not perpetuate it where it is not helping. So we use structure for as long as it is useful, and then we let it go. Just like in society, primarily, letting go of structure is what needs to happen just like in society. So we build up structures, and then those structures that once helped us, can start to inhibit us. So we need to let them shed. Where they're no longer needed, we need to let them shed. And this happens in the individual. Structures are only maintained by and through our belief in them. So use structure to get where you need to go, knowing that you and structure are not necessarily the same thing, but structure is what you employ. Again, depends on your perspective. Then you are not invested in it, not entangled, entwined and lost in it, and you can let go when the time is right. Structure is of time-space separation. Freedom is of the whole. You can choose either. If you want an experience of your wholeness, then you choose both and find your way. If you want an experience of your wholeness, then you choose both and find your way. Wholeness is wholeness, pure freedom. Wholeness learning of its freedom, coming to know its freedom, requires a structure, a time-space reality, in order to do so. Just like time and space, okay, if you want an experience of your wholeness, then you choose both, structure and freedom, and find your way. Just like time and space itself, the whole matrix, be in it, but know that that is not where your ultimate essence resides. Knowing that, you can operate apparently within it, while remaining detached from it, independent of its waves, in but not of. Just like in meditation, health is being connected, so you're connecting to presence, you're connecting to the broader life that gives your limited self life, your limited storehouse of energy. It's not like you're born with it and you die with it. It's energy is moving through you throughout life, and this energy comes from somewhere, goes to somewhere. And you're moving through energy throughout life. Energy is life. Just like in meditation, health is being connected, being connected. So we're connecting up with love, to connect up with all aspects of love in terms of other people and things, and all aspects of love in terms of all aspects of ourself, which is just a fractal of all aspects of the universe. It's the same. So health, in a world not concerned with your health, not really, because it's a separative paradigm, everyone's looking out for themselves. It's your responsibility to look out for the love, the consciousness that you are. And it's not so much looking out for as protecting, it's looking out for. You're looking out for the consciousness that you are. You're here in service for the consciousness that you are. Just as you experience consciousness, the life you are, most directly through yourself, so must you be direct in all areas of your life that pertain to the regulation of this consciousness. It is your life. This statement does not just mean you are in charge of limited you. So you can say, it is your life. We don't just mean you are in charge of limited you. You are in charge of the limited expression of the unlimited you. It's your life. It's your unlimited you life. This is who you are. Health, education, yes, we have external bodies in the world, but make your health and your education your responsibility, for that is what it is. A part of all, connected to the all of that all you are, what do you need to hold on to? So we're holding on if we conceive of ourselves as parts that could get swept away, but swept away by what? It's life that sweeps life, so it's all life, a part of all, connected to the all you are, one allness, one isness, one being, one essence, life. Having externals rule your life is attesting to the separation, the distancing of you from the other aspects of your life, the distancing of you from your life, because if we distance an aspect of wholeness, we remain lacking, we remain less than whole. So all healing of all that I've mentioned here, like depression, anxiety, insecurity, and all healing comes from knowing who you are. It comes from knowing your spiritual truth, the wholeness of who you are. It doesn't mean at times we don't have to find solutions outside of ourselves, but the degree of our spiritual development determines how much we look outside. The more developed we are internally, or rather spiritually, the less we need to subscribe to the paradigm of separation and the cures that it offers, because the true cure is knowledge of self, of returning limited little you to the wholeness of the consciousness you are, that is the life that you are, power that you are, no different. So what could cure life better than life? This is why we need to know who we are. Otherwise we miss our power, we miss our opportunity, we miss the experience of the love we are. And we're miserable when we don't take responsibility for ourselves. We shirk responsibility. But if we shirk responsibility, rules and regulations created outside of ourselves that we have to subscribe to and are therefore limited to. It's like rules and regulations are built up as a result of people not taking responsibility for themselves. Like if we all believed that we were all responsible for ourselves, there wouldn't be this culture of suing people for this or that, because we would take the responsibility for our own safety. It's only when we're no longer in touch with ourselves and our own connection to our own life that we blame other people for not looking after us. Why should another aspect of life look out for your aspect of life? And there are degrees of that. You can look at it in a very sort of strict sense, or you can see it as care is a beautiful thing. It is an expression of love. But in a world where the expression of love is lacking in public sphere, it's not love that is creating the care. It's something else. It's often it's money. People wanting a job, and they're earning money for the work that they do. Care has to be coming from love rather than the separation paradigm. Because if we're all just working to earn money, and this is where the care comes from, then it's not care at all. It's limited self-interest. So of course we want to take care of our loved ones, and there is a responsibility to look out for. This is what I'm saying. There's a responsibility to take care of ourselves, but that extends everywhere, because ourself is life. There's a responsibility to look after life, but we have to look after it where we can, which is primarily our own individual expression. If you're relying on externals, know what factors influence those externals. So usually money, like I said in that other example, like people are determined by money, which is the currency of the separation. It's the ultimate symbol of the separation, of duality, of profit or loss, of gain and loss. It's the currency of separation, of one against another, of one aspect in competition with another aspect. It's the competitive paradigm of life competing against life, which makes life fall apart, because life is not in competition with itself. Life is in flow from one form to another. So if you're relying on externals, know what factors influence those externals. Usually money, the currency of the separation, which is trying to claw its way over humanity, or rather humanity that has lost its way, i.e. becomes separate, is giving more value to money, separation, profit, loss, than health, unity. Health is seeing holy, so health is seeing holy. Separation leads to separation. Only unity can lead to unity, because only unity is unity. We are as we are, And so there are many sort of, when you see all this, you see there are many injustices in the world. But we have to take care of the life that we are. And there's this element of detachment, which doesn't mean non-caring, but it means recognising that everyone has responsibility for their self. So know your battles, know where you can win. In petty arguments there's no winner, you just become embroiled in this conflict, in this war, in this separation. In petty arguments there's no winner, you just become embroiled in bullshit, in negative energy, in destruction. In life, debasing itself. On the other hand, love leads to love. The principles of life lead to life. Principles of consciousness lead to consciousness. And it's all shifting and changing in form. But we have to know that the way we go is the way we go. Anything we choose leads to more of the same. Choose wisely. This is why we need to reclaim our minds again, reclaim our hearts and minds again, because we create from the inside out primarily. Yes, the outside informs us. It's a cyclic process. But if the world is caught in a cycle of negative patterning, or patterning that is attesting to a lesser version of what it could actually be, where does that leave us? Where can we break this cycle? In ourselves, in upping our level of consciousness, in seeing more deeply, more broadly, more wholly. Consciousness is just an outpouring of love directed through us, however we are directing it. It goes the way it's being channeled, just like water. We are the channels of the love that we are. So let's make the channels deep and wide and true to flow. Universal life, energy, here now. So, depression, we see it numbed, we see the symptoms of it masked by drugs that turn people into zombies, because what depression is your spiritual nature telling you something is not quite right in your life. It's a mechanism, life informing life, telling life something's not quite right here, you need to make some changes. It's a guidance mechanism. We can't be happy, smile all the time, And so, if we start erasing the guidance mechanisms of life by medicating ourselves against them, then life loses its way and we lose our way because we are life. So if you feel depressed, know that it's probably telling you something, it's showing you something. Don't run away from difficult feelings. You are all of it. You have enjoyable feelings, you have negative feelings, we have to recognise this is part of being human. We are divine and we are of matter, Contradictory forces, or apparently opposite forces, make up who we apparently are. So know what is not you and know what is you. Know the life you are. And things like addiction, they operate around an inadequacy of self, which is a result of not knowing who you are. Again, it's being lost in a limited version of self. This is where all sickness comes from. Sickness of all kinds. So a spiritual misunderstanding leads to mental sickness, leads to physical sickness. Mental, emotional, physical sickness. So just as life flows down through these different aspects, the mental, the emotional, the physical, so there's distortion. If life is distorted spiritually or not recognised as what it is spiritually, then ripples of distortion pass down. If we don't acknowledge them on a mental level, they come into physical manifestation, and we have to acknowledge them there. So I said addiction operates around an inadequacy of self, and whatever we're addicted to is an external which we're using, seeking to plug the hole. And for me, I see it as like a cake divided into pieces, and there's one cake, there's one cake. Each slice is that cake, is a part of that cake, and is that cake. But addiction comes from thinking you are just a slice, not realising you are the whole cake. It's all you are made up of the same stuff. Why feel worthless and in need when what you perceive you don't have is actually what you are, in more ways than one. What you perceive you don't have is actually what you are. You can interpret that in two ways. What you perceive you don't have is actually what you are. So if you perceive you don't have something, you don't have it. It's your choice of consciousness. But on the other hand, what I actually meant was, and both apply, what you perceive you don't have is actually what you are. So what you feel you are lacking, in ultimate terms, is what you don't lack it because you are what you are, the worth you think you lack. Like the whole H-O-L-E we seek to plug within ourselves cannot be plugged by anything but a true understanding of who you are. And that true understanding of who you are means that you no longer see a H-O-L-E but a W-H-O-L-E. You see the wholeness of self, and then there's no lack, there's no poor me routine. So in this example, cake equals consciousness, and if you think you're a fragment of consciousness, then you're missing the broader perspective, the broader context. So yeah, know life, know the context. The context is the wholeness, the unity, the oneness, the timelessness, the eternity, the pure being, pure energy, essence, spirit, oneness that all else is born from and all else only exists to be in service to inform that oneness of what it is. Knowing ourselves means that we are healthy. Knowing ourselves means that we are whole. Knowing ourselves means that we no longer get lost in versions of less than self that are painful, that are destructive, and that lead to more of the same unless we rectify the problem with a return to the knowledge of who we really are. And that is the only solution to any problem. Any problem in the world is the result of a spiritual lack of understanding of self. So know who you are. This is what we're here for. This is what's happening. We are learning who we are. It's happening anyway, but to consciously know who you are is love, learning of love in a conscious experience, an experience of life returning to life. And that experience is a beautiful one.